Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Overwatch Lately. I am Chris Boopasaurus here with an amazing guest. Today, it's going to be Cloneman. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Boop. How are you?
I mean, after that intro, can you not just feel super jazzy and happy?
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm on like Today's Show or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That was the point. Good job, whoever made that intro. You got the gist of it. With air drums and stuff, you just gotta kind of jive and jazz with it, man. But everyone, welcome back to Overwatch Lately. It's where we talk about what's been happening in Overwatch lately, and it's been a pretty light news week, so we're going to talk more about Cloneman and what goes on inside of his brain, but we do have some news to cover first. And one of the big things that has been in the Overwatch community so far is the effectiveness of this new patch on the PTR. So a lot of people, when they initially saw this patch, were really excited about it. It was very obvious to people that the devs were moving in a certain kind of direction, but it seems like a pattern now where they make these changes and they feel more iterative than anything else, as it doesn't seem to have changed much. If you're watching some of the EU pugs, we're still seeing a lot of Orisa, we're still seeing a lot of Sigma. So far for you, Cloneman, how do you feel about it all?
It's very interesting to see what they're doing. I'm happy about some of this, like the quality of life stuff, like being able to skirmish while you're just chilling, waiting for your long rank queues, especially for the DPS guys. Seeing them nerf shields a bit is really nice because nobody likes sitting there shooting a shield, getting no value, and okay, man, Resident Sleeper. And then kind of changing people's kits a little bit to compensate for the shield takeaway. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do a bit more, or maybe nerf or buff.
Well, it's funny, people are trying to make race car Orisa a thing, right? She can move a little bit faster, and one of the interesting things for me is that it kind of feels like they're trying to make Orisa the body, her actual self, part of the shielding aspect, which is why some of the armor in that Fortify seems to be pretty strong on the PTR right now. A lot of people asking for the armor to get changed. Some people on Twitter thinking that maybe there's a stacking issue, kind of like old Brig Rally. So there seems to be some issues still with the PTR and what people are thinking about the patch. Yes, they're moving in the right direction, but is this part of the problem here, Cloneman? So a lot of people think that Overwatch just kind of moves really slowly. We had Goats for a year, right? We've had Sigma around for a while. We all miss Winston. We all miss Reinhardt, right? We want those characters back, but it kind of just feels like we're walking through molasses sometimes. Do you think that is a priority that needs to change for Blizzard to kind of push these patches out at a little bit of a quicker pace?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Sometimes Blizzard's had a very bad track record of taking their own sweet time doing anything for stuff. Sometimes a little quicker than others. Like I remember the old Bastion meta, the Omnic Crisis way back in the day, and they were pretty quick to adjust that, but it stayed a little longer than it should have, So I would definitely think that them doing a little bit more, being a little quicker about it. I feel like maybe they were kind of stuck with Overwatch 2 in production and whatnot, but now hopefully they can still divert resources and pump out some really good patch notes. So.
Yeah, well, actually, something interesting came out today. There's an interview with Jeff Kaplan, and a lot of people are wondering, why even take the PTR seriously, because a lot of people play it and then complain about it. But he also mentioned that the PTR actually has a pretty low player base. So the peak that the PTR has ever had at one time was 60K, and that was when Roll Q came out. And so apparently you can't get a ton of data out of PTR games. And so my question is, why, right? Why have the PTR available? Why ask for all this feedback when you're going to come out and say, oh, by the way, we don't have good enough data? Because apparently, on average, say, this was the example they used, say there's a Hanzo change, a player will only play Hanzo for 6 minutes and then just log off or go to something else just to kind of see the change. And so the opinions might get affected by that. What do you think of, PTR and using the PTR in a different way, possibly, to try to help balance? Because, that is a good point. If there's not enough people across all of the difficulty levels, right, then you're not really getting anything out of it.
Yeah, I think even me sometimes, I'll go in and be like, okay, let's look at the changes. Okay, so this happened to this character. Okay, I'll play that a little bit. I'll do this. And that's about it, really. You like you said, you do the changes, or look at the changes, play it a little bit, and then you leave. And then also the hard part is just finding those matches sometimes. I've sat there I remember when Sigma came out, I was just playing them nonstop just to get used to them, and I just got so bored because it was so long for it was like a DPS queue pretty much. I just couldn't find a match. I was like, man, come on, is nobody playing PTR right now? You gotta try out Sigma or maybe play with some of the buffs or nerfs happening going on. So I don't know, maybe they need a way to incentivize it a little bit, like help us out a bit more. Like, but other than that, I don't know.
Well, it kind of, and then you've got Overwatch 2 coming out. Everyone's excited about that. There's another article that Jeff came out with that said, yeah, part of the reason why things slowed down in Overwatch was because of Overwatch 2. And now it's kind of like, one kid's in college, one kid's about to be in college, right? You're spending all that money on tuition, and so maybe the younger one's struggling a little bit more, or vice versa. Maybe the older one is the problem child. I don't know, but when you hear that kind of stuff, what do you feel, right? When you hear, oh, by the way, this thing that we've asked you to do, they're pretty much saying, oh, we're not really listening. There's not enough data, and then we're just going to do our own thing. Like, how does that make you feel as, someone who's an aspiring, Overwatch League player?
It can be really tough, I think, when you give that feedback, and then you have a pro community that really knows the game really well. Like, we spend hundreds of hours playing this game, right? Like me myself, I've spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours playing this game. Sure, I may not know the side of development in a bit way, but I do know understand balance too. I put my time in, I go, okay, this probably shouldn't do that. Maybe some of my opinions are not the best. Hey, you should buff this, right? You have to be careful listening to certain people, right? Classic Blizzard forums, be careful of those.
Well, not everyone's coming from a place of a good place when it comes to some of that feedback. Moira remains, I'm looking at you. And so if you all of a sudden, if Jeff was like, all right, Cloneman, you get to change 3 things in this game right now, what would you choose? As you could be as selfish as you want as a tank player, right? What would you choose to help the game get a little healthier, or selfishly make you have a little bit more fun?
Oh man, that's tough. There's so much that you could do and change, I guess. Deep down, I still wish Earthshatter was a little more consistent some days, but or pinning, Man, what was one thing? Oh, I know one change I really want is for Sigma. I feel like Sigma's shield, when you push the right click, it just pushes out way too far. And that's a real big annoyance for me, because it's small times you need to have the shield really close to you, but you can't do that. It just automatically pushes out super far. You can't do anything about that. So that's really stubborn. Well, maybe we can say something about Moira orbs, but we gotta be careful about that.
I mean, it's the highest skilled ability in the game, right? Just to throw it, you have to aim. Kind of, right? And it goes through shields. Yeah, you didn't think about that. Anyway, I agree with Sam, on a lot of those points. But I think in the end, in summary, what we're trying to say is, we'd like a little bit more than just an iterative process sometimes. But I think some people might have a little bit of an issue if they just changed everything, right? It might be too much of a shock. Because I remember when, way back in the day when Overwatch was just coming out, they released Mei, D.Va, and I'm blanking on the third one all at the same time. And they said that they would never do something like that ever again, right? It was just too much.
It was Mei, D.Va, and Genji. That's who it was, right?
Yeah. And so they're like, it was too much, right? Too much change. It was so hard to balance. It took us so long to actually get there. And remember, guys, D.Va could kill herself with self-destruct back then. Which is hilarious to me. But maybe they need to split the difference, right? Maybe don't add 3 characters, but I think they need to be a little bit more impactful and intentional about the kinds of changes that they're going through, because it just, again, feels really slow. So any final thoughts on the patch so far?
I think it's definitely going to change things up a bit. Maybe not as much as some people hope. I've done a little PTR scrimming, and Orisa Sigma is still pretty strong. You can do. I saw some Winston Ball today, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. That's interesting. Ryan can get played a little bit in some spots. I saw Ryan Orisa. Orisa's kind of hard to kill. She just uses that shift 8-second cooldown. You have extra 50 HP, and the armor just got buffed too. So that's kind of a pain. It might change things up a little bit, but maybe not as much as some people think. So.
Yeah, all right, man. So we shall see once the patch actually does come out. We get some competitive Overwatch. Just a small little thing. I'm actually really excited because the first competitive scene that we're going to see this patch on is going to be Contenders. And we know that Goats was born in Tier 2. I wonder if other things are going to be born in the
Atlanta.
Tier 2 scene. And so it's going to be, we'll see what the Tier 2 boys and girls are going to be able to do with the new patch once Contenders comes back next year. But speaking of Tier 2, it's something that the two of us are familiar with. We're both living, eating, and breathing support Tier 2 right now. And right now, the EU boys are doing a really cool thing. They're doing some pugs. So it's super casual, and Leg Day's kind of leading the charge. And a couple things that are really cool about it. It's not just up-and-coming players, it's up-and-coming casters. He's been casting with Kenobi. Dream was getting some casting in there, which I was really excited to see. Have you been watching them at all?
I haven't actually got a chance to. I've been like, I'm just got back from LA, so my schedule is kind of bad. And I think I'm not sure what time they're playing it, but I've been meaning to watch it. All I've been seeing is Asking. So I know he's been popping off in that and whatnot. So
yeah. So Asking got a 6K on McCree earlier today. It's all over Reddit. Definitely check it out. And then even Taimu yesterday, there was a thing that was like, hey, Asking, I have no idea why you're not in Overwatch League. You're the best Widow I've ever played against. So, I mean, it's just so crazy because a lot of people were kind of down on the practice season, and even something like an EU pug, right? It's so much fun. They don't have to wait for queues, right? They will get high quality games every single time, even if they're memeing a little bit. But even then, you can still make a name for yourself. More people know about Asking now than they did before EU pugs, and that's why it's important to participate, right?
Oh, 100%. I think getting your chance to play and like get your name out there is very good. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the other question is why no NA pugs? I know someone tried for a hot minute, and I think it's because a lot of them are scrimming and some of them are in Korea. But the other thing, I was doing my research, and I learned a couple things about North America and pugs. So apparently we just don't take them seriously, and it's awful, right? It's kind of like everything that I read. You can't trust Reddit, so that's kind of like where my knowledge goes. But I want to ask you, someone who participates in the scene, why isn't it something that North America does more often? Why isn't it something that we're doing it right now in congruency with the EU pugs?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because like every time people try to get it started, it always seems like it dies. Usually, East West Coast can be a little bit of a problem trying to get people on the right time. You have college kids trying to do their college work. You just have teams just doing team stuff. And some people just want to have a vacation and just relax. I know I've been asked a couple times, and sometimes I'm just like, I just want to I don't want to play Overwatch right now. Like I've already streamed Overwatch like today, and like I don't want to play anymore. So, but I mean, there's also times I've done it like, oh yeah, I'll definitely join that and whatnot. So.
Yeah, we'll get to the whole like streaming your passion and your job being your passion a little bit later on, because it can be hard, right? You have to make boundaries, but it's super cool that the Leg Day and crew are doing that, and he's doing some play-by-play casting, which is really, really awesome. He's usually color casting with Jaw, so everyone's flexing some new muscles, everyone having a really good time, and I'm sure a lot of those players are just happy they don't have to wait millions of years in queue to try to find a good game, and they're more balanced, right? You're not going to have a bunch of Masters players with Grandmasters, so it's been good to see. Next up is the requirement for Overwatch League to have 8 players on their teams has been met. So if you didn't have 8 players on your team, I don't know what would happen, but Overwatch League would not be happy with you. I don't know the actual consequence, 100%. But each team needs to have 8 signed players on their team. The signing window is not going to end until I think early next year. But basically, instead of going over all of we've tried for like 18 shows to go over all of these changes. But I think this is going to be the easiest way to do it. Is what about you? What are some of the highlights for you? Or is there anyone that you're particularly happy to see signed to a team?
Let's see. I'm happy to see Swimmer go. I thought he was a really good Lucio and Shawcaller. So seeing him go up is nice. I wish I had the list. There's so many people moving everywhere. I'm happy to see
if you click that link, they'll all be there.
Really?
I know, yeah. Props to over.gg and Scrubosaurus, my fellow dinosaur, the Boopasaurus Scrubosaurus squad. But yeah, like I totally agree with Swimmer, man. He is he has been such a good person throughout, and he's one of those people that seems to have a very good grasp on his community, and it's very supportive and it's very nice. Not all communities are like Swimmers, and so I just joined yours, Cloneman. So I'll have to see a little bit later on your Discord and how your community is compared to Swimmers, but I'm sure it's going to be the same. So now that you've got that link open, is there anyone else that you want to kind of prop up in terms of players and any surprising signings for you?
I know I'm happy seeing Hoppa go to Nixel. I think that's really cool. I know Nene always used to be really good friends with Hoppa because they were on a team together back in Apex days. So seeing them come back together is really cool because I know they're really good friends. Like Hoppa ended up getting like XL2 like a cheesecake for us like one of the days. And that was really cool. And then he came back. He's like, I bought a cheesecake, and I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, Hoppa gave it to us. I was like, oh, thanks, man. So
that's awesome.
It's really cool seeing him. I think all the changes that Outlaws is doing is very interesting. Like they just grab like a smorgasbord of people, and it's like, oh, okay, you guys have quite the mixing pot there.
Yeah. I've called it like Boggle. If you've ever played Boggle, it's just like you have all the letters in there, and you shake it all up, and they all put in. And you just got to find the words, and kind of seems like they're just like looking for that pattern, right? Looking for the correct way of doing things. I've liked some of their moves so far, though.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are pretty good. It's definitely interesting to see like Gladiators 2 changing up a bit. Also, Defiant grabbing a lot of the Canadians is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Defiant really going all in for next season too, along with Gladiators, signing some some pricey players. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is, again, we've talked about Path to Pro, we've talked about Tier 2. There's a specific team that signed a lot of us, and that was the Valiant. You've got Apply going up there, who was on Revival. Paintbrush did go on to Gladiator. So there's a lot of Tier 2 in the LA rivalry now. Is there anyone that you want to say, all right, watch out for these guys? I played against them. This guy's got a mean Reinhardt. This guy's a mean Lucio. Is there anyone that you want your fans to support?
Oh man, so many good ones. I will say to Apply and Paintbrush, I'm really happy to see them get moved up. I used to get to see them every once in a while when I was in LA. I would go visit the Mayhem Academy, like hotels / like place where they lived. I'd go talk with them. So it was cool seeing them move up. I think Paintbrush Lucio's really good. He's really good at shot calling too. His Mercy's good. Apply's all around just great DPS, good guy. So it's good to see him move up too.
Yeah, Paintbrush is super chill, by the way. His personality is exactly how he looks, is how I would describe it. The man bun has a lot of power, is all I have to say.
No, when I was at BlizzCon, Aspen kept calling him Post Malone, so I'd be like, hey, what's up, Posty?
That is hilarious, and I'm never going to be able to unsee it.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. He looks exactly. He's like a more handsome Post Malone because he doesn't have all the facial tattoos. But I mean, he probably could pull it off if he wanted to. Yeah, so it's good to see there's Tier 2 guys. What about any departures that you're seeing here? Any of them that are particularly interesting? I know for me, the fact that I don't think anyone from the original Spitfire team from Season 1 is on the Spitfire anymore. That one is a little bit surprising for me. And that Birdring is now playing for another team. I think he's the player that's most rumored to be, ready to retire and not really feeling that good mentally, but he's going at it again for Gladiators. What do you think about all that?
I think it's interesting. I mean, having a team that gets the championship, wins all of Overwatch League Season 1, and then like they've always been kind of wish-washy in a way. Like it's really strange. Like I don't understand that team. Like they have days that are just like really good, and you're like, wow, good job Spitfire, and then days you're like, what are you doing? And then they just like disband, and it's like, okay. So it's interesting to see where that team will end up. I think a lot of them, I think Gesture's on Dynasty along with somebody else. So that will be interesting to see that combination. The rest of them, I hope the best. I know some of them have been picked at other places, so it'll be really interesting to see who Spitfire picks up, because
no one knows yet. There's been like some hints and drops and stuff, but everyone is wondering, is it going to be a mixed roster? Is it going to be a little bit more European? We shall see. So one last thing, I'm a pretty open and honest Philadelphia Fusion fan. I'm gonna be biased towards them no matter what. Sorry, everyone. What about you? Who do you root for? You're a New England guy, so I would assume XL, the Nixel boys. But do you throw your hat behind any specific team?
It's so hard. Like I get asked this on stream too sometimes, and it's like there are some teams I root for a little bit more than others. Because I don't know. I've been playing with a lot of the guys in the community, so I pretty much just root pretty much just for like players, and then the team itself. Sometimes, like I root for Fuel, like Outlaws. Like I used to play them way back in the day. Most of them like when they were the Corn Dogs and stuff. So like I root for them a bit. Nixel, because I used to be with XL2. Plus I know a lot of them. It's good to see, I'm from New England, yeah. So I deep down, I should root for Boston. I do root for them here and there, but it's interesting. It's interesting. So
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more crazy than New England sports fans. That is for sure. I would just like the Patriots to not be good one season. Just give everyone else a try. That'd be awesome. Anyway, enough about actual flesh sports. The biggest piece of news probably over the last couple weeks is OGE getting banned. So there's I usually don't cover drama, this kind of drama, but I thought it was good to kind of bring up because you're a streamer, and this is something that can happen to you as well. I think you mentioned earlier that you've received a ban yourself. But just to give everyone a summary of what happened. So OGE and another streamer named Flocculency were in a little bit of a tiff. So OGE said something along the lines of, "Okay, man, where Flocculency is trans and did not appreciate the gender that is used. OGE does not know a lot of English, is one of the nicest guys out there, a lot of people would say, and it seemed to be a really big misunderstanding. However, the day that it came out, there was some witch hunting, there was some accusations, and I think a lot of people ended up reporting OGE to Twitch. Then it seemed to kind of die down for a day. They apparently talked in DMs and they figured it out, and it seemed to have been done. But all of a sudden today, OGE was banned by Twitch. For me, the most frustrating thing is that those two seem to have figured it out between the two of them. But basically, it was just one thing that might have been a mistake is now 3 days, I think 3 days where he can't make money on his stream. And when you get banned on Twitch and it's the way you make money, that's tough, right? So what do you think of this whole situation?
I think it's definitely interesting. Like I know anytime dealing with Twitch is you have to be very cautious because their guidelines and stuff is a very touchy subject. I don't want to get too crazy with things, but bigger streamers, smaller streamers, stuff like that. The way it went was really awkward for them to have them figure this out and then Twitch just going along and do that. Is rather strange. Like I do think it is funny that OG is like, oh, I can't get my VOD back. When it came to my ban myself, they pointed out to the VOD and said, hey, this is what you got banned for, but the VOD wasn't there because they deleted it. And I said, well, how do I know? I don't know what I got banned for. Okay. They told me in wording, but it was just like, it was very awkward. So I think I really wish that Twitch would kind of fix the way they ban people or like discuss things a little better, because I think they just kind of like do it sometimes, and there can definitely be ways to avoid it, or there can be ways to talk around it.
Well, it just seems to be really inconsistent. Right?
Yes.
It's just like someone could have done the exact same thing and not gotten banned, and someone might have been banned for even longer based on, the situation. So I know the consistency in terms of Twitch banning people has been a big talking point for a very, very long time. This isn't a recent thing when it comes to Twitch.
No.
But for you, if, we talked about it earlier, if you can make a couple changes to Overwatch, now let's talk about Twitch a little bit. What is one thing that you think, this is oversimplifying it, but what is one thing that you hope that they do in the future to kind of alleviate this kind of situation? Because it seems to happen really frequently, and it does keep Twitch in the news, and maybe it even helps some of these streamers that get banned because everyone's talking about them. The only bad press is no press, right? But to you, what is something that they need to do in order to change the inconsistencies around their terms of service?
I think they just need to talk about it, I think, or they need to come up with a system that's better than what they have. I think having people get like banned inconsistently is very frustrating for a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that go through it. Like sometimes like nobody will make word of it and nothing gets, like, you hear nothing about it. Like maybe you break a rule and then nobody hears about it. Okay. But then one person hears about it, and then you get a report, and then that's it. You're gone. So I don't know.
Yeah, and you can't push the law onto all of those viewers at the same time too.
Mm.
Like the viewers who do the reporting are going to be a little bit more anonymous than the actual streamers, right? And someone in chat did just say that it was a little bit of a joke, but I do kind of see where they're coming from. Is if enough people complain about it publicly, then they tend to do something about it, right? But there is that streamer that was caught hitting his wife not too long ago on stream, and he's still going to be able to come onto the stream. But there's been other situations where something pops up on a stream on accident. I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. An Overwatch person, and then it's like a no-go, right? Like, this is not okay. You're banned for a super long time. All your followers are going to get deleted. Like, that's a little ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is actually insane, the things that can happen, and then all of a sudden, just boom, it's gone. And it's like, wait, like, I have my community, like, there's people that watch, enjoy, and then they're not there anymore. Or Twitch is like, nope, it's gone, bye-bye. So it's really sad to see.
Well, yeah, it just, and then they do seem to be a company too that once they make a decision, that's it, right? They don't like going back on their decisions. They don't admit that they're wrong, and so it doesn't feel like it says that you can protest and find some information, but it doesn't actually seem like that's a thing that can work. I've never really actually seen that work. So we'll see how that goes in the future. We'll talk a little bit more about streaming a little bit later, particularly about you, but I thought this whole OGE situation deserved a little bit of airtime during the news portion, because I think it leads itself to a bigger discussion of when does Twitch get involved, right? When is an appropriate time to do something, especially if the two parties involved have worked something out, because technically a party still broke the TOS. And so even though they worked it out, did they still break Twitch's rules? But then you don't know what Twitch's rules are because they're super inconsistent. And so this is the fact that I've been talking this long about it and like trying to summarize it all and having a hard time doing it means that they probably need to streamline this just a little bit. But next is a little section I like to call, wait, that's not Overwatch, where it's this is an Overwatch show, but you guys all have lives outside of Overwatch too. You guys have interests outside of Overwatch. Other guests that have come on here have talked about aliens. Avril talked about aliens. Leg Day, of course, talked about going to the gym. But today I want to talk to you about fashion, because something that you've started to do on Twitter is you've been rocking those dad shirts. There's the whole reason why we're wearing these right now. I made it a requirement for you to come on. We didn't even talk about this outfit coordination. It just kind of happened, which I'm so proud of you for. But branding is a part of how you look, and it seems to be, Shiloh was even saying that you have a very large collection. And so in terms of how this deals with your personality, what is this kind of style speak to you on, right? How does it, why do you keep going towards this particular fashion choice?
I don't know. I kind of like the funkiness of it, I guess I would say. Just like kind of expressing myself a bit more and different. Like I always wear usually I'll wear nerdy shirts, with like Overwatch stuff or like other favorite games. I'll just wear like a plain shirt. But I've always been kind of a fan of like the flannel and stuff, and then just like having like those shirts that are kind of funky and wonky, and you're like, oh hey, that's kind of a silly shirt. Like I like that. Like it's always fun.
Well, my whole thing is like I'm at an age now where I realize, so I'm 30. I'm sure is like all I said for an entire day of Overwatch, of BlizzCon. But it's funny because a bunch of my kids, not my kids, a bunch of my friends are having kids and are actual dads, and they don't wear these shirts. And so my whole thing is like, you gotta, it's good to be, mature. It's good to be older, right? But you gotta appreciate your youth. But I guess on the outside, it's okay to dress like someone a little older, right?
Right.
And so, what is your favorite? Describe your perfect dad shirt? If you were to create again, I'm making you be really creative on this show. What would it be, and would Shiloh hate it?
I don't know. She loves all of them, but I would definitely say it's got to be button up. It's got to have a nice pocket. I love the pocket. It's so convenient. You got something you need to put in there. Bam, you're good to go. And just like having like silly things, I think, on it. You can have like cats on it. You could have. I have one with fishing lures on it. Like. I could have deer on it, anything like that. Like, it speaks to me, and I love it.
It's actually very interesting because when I first met you at BlizzCon, we were on a patio. I was a little far gone, as I do at BlizzCon. But it's so funny because the shirt, I would not say completely represents your personality, if that makes sense, right? So like you seem to be pretty calm, cool, and collected. You do pop off when you play, but it's just funny to me, the dichotomy of, expressing yourself through that kind of fashion, which is exactly why they exist.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great.
Right,
sometimes it's like you bring fun to the party, like, oh, hey, what's up? Check out my cool shirt. Hey.
There it is. It's a talking point. It's a great way to start conversations. But enough about shirts. We got to get back to Overwatch, and we're going to talk about you. So something that I do with all my guests is we talk about your origin story first, right? Then we get more and more into the details of your life. But first, where does your name come from? What was your first game? How did this all start for you?
All right. Well, like, what are we looking for first game? And we thinking way old school, and I was in my young days, being a little clone baby.
And so you were a clone baby. And what was the first game that kind of really impacted you?
I think the first game that I really I enjoyed as a kid was probably old Red Alert, which was Command and Conquer, made by Westwood. It was a fun little strategy game, and I love that.
Okay, all right, cool. Strategy game. Everyone seems to kind of go into a certain style of game. Have you been playing strategy games for a long time?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I still on occasion I play the newer Command and Conquers, some of the old ones. Sometimes I'll play a Warhammer game or Total War games, which are pretty good strategy games. I've been wanting to get into Civilization because I know a lot of people like that game, and it looks pretty fun. I've not get a chance.
Civilization addict, my friend. I went through 3 months of time. I probably only finished 3 games of Civilization at the time, but man, Ham and I played the shit out of some Civilization. It is a good one. I recommend Civ 6, but you might like Civ 5 a little bit better. So, all right. So we talked about your name. We talked about your first game. So let's talk about who's supported you throughout, your gaming career, because we don't necessarily get there on our own. We either do it to prove someone wrong or because we've got that support, right? For me, for sure, if someone's like, you can't do this, I'm going to go, screw you, I'm going to do it. And that's the best way to motivate me. So who supported you throughout this earlier process, whether it be your friends or your parents or other streamers, or maybe even it is yourself? Who would you say is a big reason why you got into it and has stuck with it so far?
I'd definitely say my family has definitely helped me a lot through it. But I also have those moments too where people will kind of laugh at you for being trying to go for that pro scene or trying to stream, and you're all right, well, I'm going to go for this. But I would definitely say my mom has definitely been a big help. She's just been I told her one day I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna start streaming. I'm gonna put full faith in it. She's all right, well, make sure you make enough money and do it and help me out when you can. So I'm all right, and I just pretty much put full force into it and just went to town. So.
Well, that's awesome because not everyone gets that kind of opportunity, and the thing is if you have it, then you got to take advantage of it, right? You've been blessed with a very supportive family, and let's talk about your mom a little bit because she's quite active on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I follow her. And Overwatch has this really awesome community of parents. You've got Mama Chew, you've got Boostio's mom, you've got Deborah Denton, Beast Halo's mom, you got Mama Clone, you've got Sugar Free's dad. Number one, I know your mom's watching, so I'd love to see all of you guys do an open division team. This practice division would have been the perfect season to do the Parents of Overwatch open division team. And two, how into Overwatch is Mama Clone? If we were to do a trivia, or how much Overwatch does she watch? Has she kind of expanded past the games that you're in?
I don't know. I think my mom watches on occasion. She's a pretty busy mom doing with her work and whatnot. So, but she always tries to watch my stream, or she watches the games I play. I think she likes to watch Overwatch League once in a while, or she'll turn it on. So.
Yeah, she's always in the chat when Ham and I are casting. We appreciate the support. She's great, and I'm sure you appreciate the support. Do you want to say anything to your mama? I know she's in the chat.
I love her very much, and she's a great mom.
Awesome. One of these days, it's so funny because I don't know if you've noticed, but if there's ever a crime in a neighborhood, they're oh, that person was such a good person, or hey, tell me about your mom. Oh, they're great. One of these days, someone's going to be my mom is, my mom's awful. this is a bad person, right? Why would you even ask me this? Do your research. And, I'm scared for that day, but it might happen one day. I never know. But let's talk about Tier 2 a little bit. So Path to Pro has gone through a variety of changes throughout your time within it. You're a little bit of a veteran, as you were an XL2 3 seasons ago, and then Sky Foxes in the most recent Contender season. Moving into next season, we are going into this kind of like tournament style of Contenders, where the highest level teams are actually going to be potentially playing less than some of the lower achieving teams. For those of you guys at home who are kind of confused by it, Open Division is now going to be like a double elimination tournament, and once you get a certain spot, if you place high enough in Open Division, you'll be placed into Contenders. And each of them will still have regions and stuff, but Contenders will also be a double elimination tournament, and that's going to happen 3 or 4 times during the year. And that's just going to be what Contenders is next season. There's been a lot of changes. The direction has been a little iffy at times. What do you think about it as someone who is a veteran at walking this path so far?
It's definitely going to be a shakeup to what it normally is, because I've been playing since like the beginning for Contenders, so having them like swap it around and be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. Oh, okay. So it'll definitely be a very interesting change coming in. Like with the whole way the bracket works too, like I could technically go into trials, or maybe even if my team does bad enough, I could go to Open Division. So according to that, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very interesting to see what they're going to do and how it will play out.
Yeah, it seems to have a little bit more pressure for the higher achieving teams to stay. I'd be interested to see if they'd ever include something like bounties. Some other esports have bounties where this team has been in Contenders this long, but if you beat them, you get a special thing. I don't know, but I think they need to incentivize you guys a little bit to continuously participate in the Path to Pro, because it can be pretty exhausting. So you've gone through some transitions yourself too. So we talked about you were on XL2. XL2 has recently dropped their Contenders team, so they're only going to be running NYXL in Overwatch League. They've made some interesting decisions. They tried to do the whole New York only thing and then ended up not doing it. And it's actually so funny because the 2 Koreans on that team are both in Overwatch League now, with Bianca and Yaki. And so you were victimized by some of those decisions. How did that feel as you were going through it, and what do you think about like the current state of academy teams? There's rumors that Gladiators might drop theirs. XL2 has already dropped. A couple other ones have dropped too. What is the future here? Because academy teams is going to be what props up Tier 2.
I don't know. It's really tough for academy teams, because academy teams are supposed to be like you're kind of like your best of the best when it comes to like Tier 2 scene. And some of them I would say yes, and some of them are no. Like some of them have failed a lot more than others, and some have succeeded more than others. I mean, you look at like Atlanta Academy. Atlanta has been pretty much good the whole time. XL2 was good, then they had that bumpy time, and then they're back. They were back to being good. Boston's always been kind of shaky in my opinion. They were doing good last season, and then they kind of dropped at the end. So like I can understand from some point of views, like the organization itself, it's just like, are we really getting money out of this? Is it a good investment for us? Like sometimes I would say yes, because like if you sell a player, like, hey, that's a lot of money for the organization. But if you're not really selling anybody, then it can really hurt you.
Well, it's kind of like carrying dead weight at that point in time, right? The whole point of any business is to make money, and in Tier 2 and in all sports, the players are part of that business, right? They represent the dollar signs, whether if that equates to wins or sales in clothing or other types of items, they have to bring the money. But I did just hear that Overwatch League teams share revenue. So when you buy from a Tier 2 team, you're helping Tier 2 much more than if you're trading within Overwatch League. So we'll see how there's a big difference there, right? Tier 2 needs those signings. And it's so funny because Second Wind has probably placed some of the most amount of Overwatch League players. They're not even a signed team. They've gotten a lot of people into Overwatch League. The academy teams, Atlanta Academy, have gotten a ton from their current team in there. So we know it can work whether you're signed or unsigned in terms of the academy side of things. But what is something that you wish could happen a little bit more? Because a lot of people are complaining it's all about nepotism. There were some twit-longers recently that were trying to call that out, which is like it's more about who you know than how you actually play. Do you think there's any credence to that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. There's times that I've seen, certain players maybe that you think like they do okay, or maybe there's like a better player for that role, and then you see like somebody else completely take it, and you kind of question, you're like, wait a second, like how does this happen? Like this player should have got it, right? So I could definitely think that people would agree with that. Like there maybe could be some nepotism here and there, but I mean that comes in with a lot of things. Um, I don't know.
Well,
It's hard for a player.
yeah, I mean, it's hard for anyone in esports. It's just unfortunate because I know you guys grind, right? You guys put a lot of time and effort and emotion, right? And I think that's something that is underestimated when it comes to especially tier 2 is you guys are playing because you're passionate about it, right? It's not attached to a lot of money, right? In Overwatch League, and especially League of Legends, just recently, we've got multiple multi-million-dollar contracts going to some of these League of Legends players. And, when you finally get that money, something can happen, right? You might start taking a little bit of a back seat. It might motivate you, but if you're in tier 2, you're doing it because you love this game. You're doing it for the opportunity to make those monies, and that's why I feel like tier 2 is just so passionate. I call myself like a tier 2 expert. I'd much rather watch contenders and I'm also a huge fan of college sports, and I think there's some similarities there in terms of why I like it. But for you living in it, I don't know. It sucks for me to see you guys try so hard and get passed over for potentially teams that you might be a better fit for.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree. Like I think it's hard sometimes because there's definitely players that really work hard, and you can see that during the contender season. Like you can see these players get way better. Like I know, like in my first season, like holy god, dude, I was pretty bad. Like my Winston was terrible, but I got better, and like it felt really good as a player to see that like progression. And then like the next season came around, like I played a little bit more, like it still got better. I mean, last season I worked on my ball, and it felt really satisfying to see that. Like it doesn't take much. All you gotta do is just work at it, and then like just keep playing and grinding, and then hopefully you get recognized. And then when you don't, it's kind of like draining because it's like, oh, you put all that time and effort in, and then you don't get any payout back. It's like, oh, okay, another season of contenders. Let's go again. So you gotta build it back up, and then all right, let's do it.
Yeah, well, I think that leads us to my next question really, really well. So a lot of people around you have gotten into Overwatch League during your time. Why don't you think that's happened to you yet? I'm shocked you're not on an academy team personally. For anyone listening that might have anything to do with getting Cloneman onto an academy team, I think he'd be wonderful and amazing for you. A caster bias, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty shocked that I know Skyfox's is arguably the best place to be if you're not on an academy team. But why don't you think you've made it so far?
I think some of it's just like some teams already had like set positions for people. Like Atlanta Academy had gated forever. Like there's no way I would have gotten that. XL2, I don't think they really would have liked to have me back in the day. Gladiators, I do remember trying out for their Legion team, but I guess they didn't want me back. Was it last season? I think it was. Yeah. Boston, I've always been kind of iffy about. It's definitely been an interesting organization. I'll just leave it at that. Even though I wouldn't mind repping New England. So it's definitely, it's not just like on the teams like looking for me. It's also like me too. Sometimes being like, do I really want to join that? Or maybe I'm getting kind of looked over sometimes, or maybe I'm not playing as well as I should in the tryout.
So what kind of growth do you think you wish more people saw, right? Because you did just say XL2 from back then, they probably just don't want anything to do with you, right? What is the difference between Cloneman then and Cloneman now?
In terms of like what time period is this? Like
well, you just mentioned that, some teams in your past might not, there might have been some tension, but now that you've grown a little bit, you're a little bit older, you've played a little bit more. It's so funny that we talk about this as if it's been like 5 years. It's maybe been a year and a half since you were on XL2. And so where do you think you've changed the most? And maybe in terms of just how you view the game, your teamwork, your ethic, what is something you want to tell the people out there that might be watching saying, this is something that I've changed. I'm better than I was back then. What are you proud of being, what are you proud of right now from your growth from when you were on XL2 versus now?
I think one of the things I've really picked up on is just like learning things as a player, just like really putting in a grind and going, okay, so this character might be really good right now, or this I'm not too good with this character at the moment, like my Winston or Ball, for example, and then it'd be like, okay, I need to grind this, and then I just do it. And it feels really satisfactory to do that. Plus it also, and when I first started, like I did some of it, I wasn't doing it enough, and I was like, okay, like this is kind of a problem. And I had a coach come in and help me, and then I like started grinding a bit more and grinding, and I was like, hey, this is like really good. And like being able to just do that is very important, I think. And like, I would also like to add in like, I've been pretty good all around as like a teammate too. I think that's also very important, and I haven't really changed much in terms of that. Maybe a little better, but I've always been a good teammate. And like whenever I'm at the team house or just like talking to people once in a while, I always try to like cheer them up or just like make sure we got some good communications, stuff like that. So I think stuff like that is very important.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to what are your goals for next season? What are your hopes of dreams? Is there anything you can tell us about your future?
Well, I guess my goal would be, I know Envy's got those tryouts, so it'd be a very big hope of mine to join that.
Another thing that I was shocked at. I remember. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, go for it.
It just made so much sense for you to be on Envy last season, but hopefully maybe in the future you'll be able to do it. I didn't make the connection that Shu has those European roots, and that was probably a bigger reason why he brought in Halfy Cool and Numlocked at the time. But a lot of people, I think the majority of people thought you were going to be on Envy because you do have a relationship with Jane. But my fingers are crossed for you, man. So sorry to interrupt you. That was just something that back then was very surprising to me.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely an interesting time period for that because I thought I might have been a good fit for that team. Because I've known most of those Envy guys for a long time or played against them, like Fire. Like, holy cow, I've been playing against Fire since he was on Envision, and it was crazy. But, being able to join that would have been really a big, like, dream of mine because I remember watching Envy way back in the day when I was, like, working at Walmart. It's, like, middle of the night, like, 12 p.m. on my break, sitting there watching Envy games on my phone. Like, oh man, this is cool. So joining that would be really cool. Getting an academy team or just, getting another good team and just grinding contenders and trying to get to the top, I guess, is pretty much what I have in store for this season of contenders coming up. So
awesome. Well, if you're on Sky Foxes, hopefully you guys have a little bit of a better season this time around. It was a very awkward season for you guys last season. It was hard to kind of pinpoint exactly where things could have gotten better, but Lastro is no longer with the team. I believe there's a rumor, I don't know if it's official, that he got called up. You don't have to confirm anything, but we'll see about the future, man. We'll definitely be seeing you in contenders, though.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. And also to add into the Lastro thing, if he did get picked up, then wait, was that fake video, whatever they
I have no idea. Like I have this thing where I like read a headline and like then it's fact. You know what I mean? So I think I like read something about Lastro, maybe like a rumor that he was going to Valiant.
Yeah. I think it was like the fake but real video. That
Yeah.
So I am happy for him. I've always thought Lastro was really good. So seeing him get picked up was really nice.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's talk, that is the path to pro for you. And let's talk about what you do on the other side of it, which is stream. And so the number one question I get from a lot of people who watch the show is there are a lot of people who want to be streamers. There are people who want to have thousands of followers like you do, right? So something that I ask a lot, and I'm going to ask you, you're going to be the first person I try this on. I know that consistency and schedule have a lot to do with being a good streamer. I know that putting yourself out there does, but what I want to know from you is outside of like the obvious answers like that, what is something that you wish someone told you about this particular path that you can now share with other people?
I think definitely having like good like equipment can definitely help out. Like having maybe like a good attitude or it's like having a good stream all around, like having a good setup, like take Jane, for example. He's got like all kinds of stuff when he streams, right? He's got like, he pushes a button, boom, it's like transition into this, that. I think stuff like that is like really important if you want to, depending on what kind of stream you're doing for. Also picking what you want to do, right? If you're going to do the gaming, maybe you do like pod review kind of stuff. Maybe you just talk, do the podcast kind of stuff. So really kind of putting your foot where you want to go, I think is like usually like the best course of action.
Mm-hmm. Do you think so? A lot of people are unfortunately not as good as you at the game. Do you think that has to be a part of you becoming a good streamer? Do you think a personality can take someone to that kind of level? Or because there's some people in the community that say, unless you're Grandmaster or Master, why do I even want to watch you? Because I'm trying to learn the game. Is being good at that particular game important to be well known as a streamer?
I definitely think sometimes, like, if you really want to improve, like, I'm not going to go watch, like, a Plaid guy, right? Like, I'm probably going to go watch, like, if I want to improve my aim a little bit or get some, like, insider information, I might watch, like, an Overwatch League Pro and try to learn from that. But, I mean, if you're just looking to relax and watch, like, an Overwatch streamer, then you can definitely do that, right? I can just scroll down and be like, oh, I just want to watch this person and see how they do. Like, right? Like, and just enjoy it. And you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun, interesting. They have a good attitude. They're fun. They talk to chat a little bit, or they're just really like a go getter. And it's like, all right, that seems good. So.
Awesome. Well, we talked about community. We talked about your community a little earlier. What is your favorite part about it? How did you help build it? I'm sure you've got people that helped you get there too. And what is your favorite part about your particular community?
Just all of the people, I guess. It's always been a blast getting to talk and to know people and just to like learn where they're from or what they do, and just like how everybody just comes to enjoy the stream or just to come to have a laugh, or like, I remember getting told from a friend of mine that one of her coworkers watched me, and she said that like he had gone through a rough time, but like I had helped him out just by like streaming, and he had like a laugh, and he always like relaxed at it, and it was nice to know that like you help people out too sometimes. Like I'm just here just to stream and make you giggle a little bit and put a smile on your face and maybe feed a little bit. So
I love that, man. I absolutely love that, because we've had other streamers on the show, but it's been hard to kind of talk about like the emotional aspect of it. So it's good that you're trying to connect with people in that way. That's a good thing for this kind of community. So I appreciate you saying that. But talking about the emotional part of it, there are easier jobs out there with more consistent ways of getting paid. You get paid the same thing every other week. With streaming, you got to kind of find the needle in the haystack, right? You either have to be really good at the game, you also have to be a good personality, and you're starting to get that kind of momentum. So why this is kind of like what I'm saying. There are easier options in terms of even involved in esports. What is it about streaming outside of that emotional aspect that you just talked about that kind of tickles your fancy so much and keeps you doing it?
I guess just like I've always been really good at video games, and I've always like getting people to laugh a bit. So getting a chance just to do that just for the fun part of it, and like streaming games, because I always feel like sometimes it's like silly things that happen in my games that like I wish other people would see. And I think getting a chance to like show people that, or just to, have a fun time, is really what gets me with it, I guess. Like when I first got introduced to do it and like saw people doing it, I was like, wow, I can do this. Like I remember watching like Dyrus way back in the day play League of Legends. I was like, wow, this looks really fun. Like just like interacting with people in Twitch chat, just playing the game, and then just having fun and showing people what you go through on your daily like basis of playing.
Yeah, you get to know the human being behind the camera sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And that's you start feeling attached to these people, and they become a part of your day. And that's one of my favorite parts about streaming is coming home, putting on TFT, And today I had coffee and chips for lunch, just to be able to lean back and watch some TFT and just chill, right? So
right.
That's really cool. But the other thing about streaming that I think is really hard is you're constantly on, right? You're giving yourself to other people. You're being watched, and people can be very mean on it. So how do you maintain the mental aspect, right? How do you stay PMA throughout it all? And what do you do to relax and kind of decompress? We talked about that earlier, actually. We said earlier on the show, sometimes you just don't want to play Overwatch, and that's fine. But your job is your passion. It's kind of like eating at the restaurant that you work at. It's not something that a lot of people do, but that's what you guys are doing every single time you stream or play Overwatch. How do you maintain that passion? How do you keep yourself healthy? How do you keep going?
Usually I'll try to play like other games. This is usually my go-to. It's like I'll just play another game. Like, all right, like I don't need to play Overwatch. Like I'll be like, okay, I played enough Overwatch for today. I did what I had to do. I'll go relax and play this nice game while watching a stream. Is usually my go-to. So I like to. Sometimes, like, let's say, play Warhammer 2, like Total War. So it's a nice little strategy game. You got a little strategy going on, and then I'll have like Moon on the side, and I'll just like watch him, do that. And it's a good way to relax, right? Maybe get a little snack. If not, then I'll watch like a TV show, maybe some anime, stuff like that. That's my go-to.
It's so funny. So almost every single person that's been on this show has been an anime fan, and none of you say it confidently. One day I want someone to be like, and I freaking love anime, and I like this one in particular. I've only watched one anime, like one true hardcore anime in my life, and it was absolutely hilarious. It was called Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon or in a Hot Spring? And it is a little NSFW, but it is absolutely hilarious. It's one of those things where I can't tell if it's satire or not, and I think that's the point. And so definitely check it out. It's super great. I've watched 2 episodes now, and all I've wanted to do is watch more. I don't know why. I don't even know if I like it, but all I want to do is watch more. But yeah, you got to be confident in your anime-ness, my friend. It's okay to be a weeb out there.
Oh, I know. I know some people don't like they disagree, and I make fun of them a little bit my time and sometimes depending on what they watch. But I do have my favorites and whatnot. So
All right, so the last thing before we talk about something a little bit more on the happier side is, the other thing about streaming is it's a very isolated career, right? And this is just working from home in general, right? Because I do a lot of working from home. On my other gigs, you're by yourself. You're not surrounded by coworkers, and coworkers is how you make friends. You grow up in a time where it's okay and appropriate to have friends on the internet. It's not like super sketchy anymore, like it was 10 years ago when the internet was just getting born. But you have a relationships. You're obviously very close to your mom. How do you maintain those things? Because like something that has always been impressive to me is how Dog and Hafu are able to maintain a relationship with those streaming hours together, right? It is such an isolating type of career. Is it something that you have to intentionally kind of overcome and tell yourself, all right, I got to go out, I got to do this?
Yeah, I definitely think so. You have to really go out and like do other things. You can't just stream all the time. I remember seeing a clip, I think of it. It was Dan's Gaming, I think, and he was like, he had this like really lonely moment when he was on stream and he was talking about it, and I felt really bad for him because like he didn't really have much to do. Like he had just been streaming. He went on that grind. Like he said it was like it's lonely on the top of the mountain, right? You get there, but what's there, right? You get the success, but sometimes along the ride you don't have everything. You like have to like drop off things, and it's like, well, here I am. So you really, really have to make sure you go out, hang out with some friends. And it can be hard though in some aspects. Like around where I live, like I have some friends from from my high school days and stuff, so I can definitely reach out to them and talk to them. But if you're like new to a city and stuff like that, it's going to be a little hard. You're going to have to go out and do that. I know sometimes we're introverts and we like to stay on our computers all day, but we have to get out every once in a while.
Yeah, just even if it is just to walk outside, you got to maintain it. Like most everything is mental, right? And if that starts going downhill, everything else will, and it starts becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I've always considered you have to be intentional about keeping yourself healthy, whether that is just going on a walk or getting a dog. I'm always in support of people getting dogs, only if they send me pictures of them. So I'm glad that you're able to speak on that. And so last question, my friend. We've made it to the end of the interview, and I ask everyone this. Why Overwatch, right? There's so many games out there. You've been grinding Overwatch for a long time. Why Overwatch in general? What do you love about it?
I think the biggest thing I love about it is just the characters themselves. Like I feel Blizzard did a really good job with the characters. Like when I first watched Overwatch cinematic, I went, wow, this looks pretty interesting, cool. And then when they started introducing the characters, I said, wow, like these are all the characters. And as soon as I saw Reinhardt, I said, that guy, that's my character right there, 100%. I'm playing him. Nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. So, the beta dropped. It was an open beta they did for like 2 days. And I played so much Reinhardt that day. I was just like, yes, this is my character. I picked him up and I had a blast. And I said, wow, this game is amazing. And I was kind of going through a little bit of a rough patch, and I ended up getting the closed beta invitation. I was like, wow, this is gonna be great. So I did nothing but just play that game. I had so much fun. I liked the maps, the characters, like everything about it just seemed really great for me. And it's just a game that spoke to me a lot more than like any other game, I would say.
Well, that's awesome, man. And that means you're in the right career path, man. And many people in the world don't say that about other things, right? You're able to say it about the thing that you love and the thing that you're grinding on right now. So I really appreciate you coming on here, speaking truthfully about a lot of things,
no problem.
talking about Overwatch, getting to know you a little bit more, which has been awesome so far. So for everyone listening right now, where can we find you online? Give us your Twitch, give us your Twitter, and anything that you want to help build your community.
All right. So right now I have, you can follow me on twitter.tv/Cleman16. Same thing for Twitch, but just twitch.tv/Clemen16. You can check me out there. It'd be very cool. If you stop by, say hi. You can also check out my Discord. All you have to do is look at my Twitter and you'll find it'll be my pinned tweet. So check that out if you want to talk in there too. I'm always welcome to new people. And that's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on once again. I have been Chris Boopasaurus Lessard. You can find me at Boopasaurus Rex on Twitter and for all those updates on who's going to be up next on Overwatch lately. Got to do a little bit of housekeeping before we go. Next week is Thanksgiving. It feels like it's super late this year, which I think it is because I've already been seeing Christmas things. there's going to be no show next week because of Thanksgiving and throughout the holidays. It's going to be when we can get people on. There's been a lot of traveling, so it'll be a little inconsistent, but starting next year, it'll be every week once again on Thursdays. But that's going to be it for Overwatch Lately, the show where we talk about what's been happening in Overwatch lately. We'll see you in 2 weeks, my friends. See everyone later.
Bye-bye.